This is Rachel E. Rice. Next is chapter 1 of my new vampire series, I Am the Night. Enjoy.
Chapter 1. When Hannah St. John boarded the subway and arrived at Columbia College for her evening class, another young woman was being stalked by a predator. "Where have you been, Hannah? I thought I would see you before today. You don't go out drinking like some of us freshmen who are fucking tired of listening to our parents saying, 'Don't do this and don't do that.' Are you smoking that stuff? For Christ's sake, they can't even ask that question with a straight face as if they didn't drink and smoke when they were our age." Brian and Hannah turned the corner passing the admissions office, heading for the lecture hall in room D. Hannah trotted along with Brian, a tall thin guy who likes preppy from Hollister Abercrombie A. She didn't answer him, letting him talk and getting his frustrations out before they got to class, and picking up two friends along the way. "Where did you sneak off to? Been to Paris or Italy lately? I know you said you were planning on going there," Gabriella said, trailing behind her, holding Chase's hand. Hannah stops and sucks in a deep breath. "It was just wishful thinking on my part. I couldn't get out of Manhattan if I wanted to," Hannah said as she continued walking with her head down, not looking anyone in the eyes. Her hands clutching tightly to the strap across her chest, holding her heavy bag resting on her side. "That's too bad," Gabriella said. "But you'll get there. You're focused." Hannah knew Gabriella meant well. She wasn't like some of the other rich girls she had met, attending private schools around New York. Her first choice wasn't Columbia University, but she accepted the scholarship because she couldn't afford to go where she wanted, Princeton. Or somewhere it's warm. California, preferably. Here she met and took up with a bunch of rich kids who would rather be close to home, where they could milk their parents for cash and they didn't have to accept any responsibilities. Unlike Hannah's parents, their parents could afford to pay for them to stay on campus, but they opted for apartments. Apartments she could never afford, even if she graduated and got her dream job, which she didn't know what that would be. "I have to concentrate on my classes," she said, half apologizing. "I can't afford to lose my scholarship. I got some bad grades, and my parents don't have the funds to pay my tuition if I flunk these classes. I don't think you'll see me much except between classes." "You can move in with me," Gabriella said. "I have a comfortable couch and it would be fun having someone with me," her smile as warm as her brown eyes. "Just think about it. You don't have to listen to your parents rag about drinking and pick up your clothes, don't sleep late, and don't forget to go to class. How are you able to date living with your parents anyway?" "She isn't," Chase said as they neared the door to the lecture hall. He opened it. "I've asked her over and over to go out with a friend of mine, and she said no." Chase and Brian could be twins if one was a little taller. Both had light brown hair and both had blue eyes and dressed almost the same except for the colors they chose. That might have been the only difference in the two of them. "Maybe she's not into me," a voice said from behind them. "On the other hand, I haven't asked Hannah." "I'll know when she's ready to take that step, right, Hannah?" Justin said. Hannah walked slowly into the hall, looking around for a seat. The lecture hadn't started. Students were milling about, looking for a seat in the back. Normally Hannah would sit in front, but since she met these friends, she changed her seating arrangement and lost focus on what she had to do to pass the class and hold on to her small scholarship. "What about this evening? Come with us," Brian said. "We'll see that you're home early." "I'll even pay for your cab," Justin said as Hannah walked ahead of him. She glanced up at Justin, who stood 6 feet. Light brown hair and steely gray eyes. He had not been a part of the group. Somehow he had inserted himself into a group of well-to-do kids, unlike Hannah, who they seemed to like but tolerated Justin. Hannah was without pretense, and she never promoted herself. She never asked or expected to be a part of the group, but for some reason, Gabriella took her in, and she enjoyed Gabriella's company, even if they were as different as night and day. Gabriella came with her boyfriends, Brian and Chase. They followed her around like two dogs in heat, and when Hannah met Gabriella, they were part of the package. Knowing most of the students in her class, she was aware of their families and their statuses in the community. You could open any paper in New York and there were their names and pictures going to fundraisers for colleges, the opera, and contributing to the arts. When Hannah had enrolled in Columbia, it was because she couldn't afford Princeton. Even with a scholarship, she would never be able to pay the out-of-state tuition. And there was a matter of room and board. Not even on a good day, and with what was left of her inheritance from her grandmother, her part-time job, would she be able to cover the cost of tuition and room and board. Especially now, since there was little left that her mother and father hadn't used up. She could hear her father. "We had to use some of your money put aside for your college. We had expenses keeping you in that private high school." "That's fine, Dad, but how much is left?" "Maybe 5,000, give or take a few. If you get that scholarship at Columbia, you can stay in Manhattan and in your own room and commute." Oh yeah, that's just what she needed. To be forever a child in her father's house. But what choice did she have now? Hannah got the scholarship, but still, she didn't have enough for anything else, and now that she had waited to the last minute to register at Columbia, she had to take some classes with professors who the other students knew were the hardest classes to pass. She should have known when she walked into class, and there were 9 students in her advanced classes, and they were all from China or India. And to make it worse, the professor was Chinese and English was his second language. So she failed her 2 most important classes, getting 2 Ds to bring her grade average down, and putting her in jeopardy of losing the little scholarship she had. The group of 2 girls and 3 boys walked down the aisle of the lecture hall looking for seating for 4 students. Hannah sped off to the right, and the others went to their left. They knew Hannah didn't want to be bothered, especially if she had to concentrate, and she couldn't with them talking throughout the lecture. This group of rich, entitled millennials could afford to stay in school forever. They had plans of taking over their father's businesses. Hannah had dreams of becoming an engineer and moving to the West Coast. Get out of New York and away from her parents who appeared to be sapping all the life from her and leaving her like a corpse. There was no way she could be herself. She had gone through high school with the same notion, and there was no way she thought she could live through another year the way she felt. Even separating herself from her friends did nothing for her concentration. She had used up the last money she had for books, and now she was without books. She couldn't even afford to purchase the e-books, and they were cheaper. If she could manage to get through this semester, she could take off for the summer and work, and then maybe have enough to pay for a semester in a local college that didn't charge such outrageous tuition. That was just a passing thought as she sat waiting for the professor. "You never said you would have a drink with us," Justin said, after tapping her on the shoulder. Looking behind her, immersed in her thoughts, Hannah shuddered at Justin's voice. "You startled me. I thought you were sitting with the others. This isn't one of my classes. Come on. Are you going to hang out with us?" "Yes." "Yes," Hannah said, just to get rid of him so she could concentrate. She didn't see him when he left, and she never remembered him before. He just showed up one day, and he was part of the group. When class was over, she walked out with the crowd of students. Because it was winter and dark outside, Hannah tried to get home after her last class, which had dismissed at 8 p.m. Not wanting to see anyone, she lowered her head and tried to blend in with the other students, but that was of no use. She had reddish-brown hair that stood out in a crowd of blonde or dark-haired girls and guys. And she wore old jeans and a sweatshirt, unlike the preppy-dressed group of rich kids in the school. Hannah had freckles with green eyes. She stood 5 feet 5 inches. She twirled her long curls as if she was nervous, and she was nervous for more than one reason. "There you are. I thought you had gotten away from me," Justin said. He grabbed Hannah's hand. "You said you were coming with us to the bar, and I'm buying you a drink. I'm not taking no for an answer. You need to relax." "I can feel your hands, they're shaking," he said in a soft tone that made Hannah relax. Justin stood 6 feet and extremely handsome. Hannah considered herself lucky that a guy that handsome and soft-spoken had found her attractive. She never saw herself as being a beauty, not even close. But Hannah was, and never knew it. She spent her years in high school with her head in her books. Never went to the prom because no one asked her. She was more of a loner trying to find out where she fits in this world. She thought she never fit anywhere, and therefore she never tried to cultivate any long-term relationships with classmates or guys she found attractive, or even the fun guys she would have for friends. Sure. Why not, she said. She dropped Justin's hand, and trotted off with him. When they reached the outside of the building, standing waiting for them were Brian, Gabriella, and Chase. "You're good," Gabriella said to Justin. "We've been trying to get Hannah out of that shell since I met her." Hannah gave a weak smile. She had never had a drink. If she was to fit in, she had to act like she knew how to party. The group walked a block, heading in the direction of the bar. At a distance, the sign showed bright in the dark. It said the maze out front, all lit up above the door. The maze set near a boutique on one side and a large apartment building on the other side. "That's it," Brian said. "Great place. I've spent many lonely hours here until I met Gabriella." He smiled, knowing that was a lie. "Looks cool," Chase said, kissing Gabriella. "I think you should kiss me too," Brian said, pulling Gabriella from the arms of Chase. He didn't look surprised when Brian wrapped Gabriella close to him. "You can't show favoritism like that. I might get my feeling hurt." Gabriella glanced at Justin and Hannah. "He's just being a big baby. He knows I love him as much as Chase. Maybe more," she said, casting a glance in Chase's direction. They continued walking as Justin tried to reach for Hannah's hand. "I'm not ready for a relationship," Hannah said to Justin. Her voice soft but firm. "Not even a friend?" Surprised at the display of kissing and holding hands with the three, Hannah looked to Justin and he shrugged. "Maybe a friend. That's all I have room for now," Hannah said, walking slowly with Justin and behind the threesome, who couldn't seem to part for a second. "I'll take what I can get for now." He looked at her with a mysterious grin. One she couldn't quite understand. Hannah had thought that the group wanted her to be a part of it because one of the guys didn't have a girl to hook up with, but she was wrong. She had been wrong about a great many things. She had been wrong about college and about her parents. She didn't want to be wrong about her choice in a boyfriend just to have one. And she didn't need that added burden of dating just when she required that time for studying. "We're here," Justin said as he held the door open. They entered the crowded bar. Loud voices blending over the sound of Sam Smith's song, "Leave Your Lover." "Leave him for me." Chase leaning into Gabriella and singing along with the song. The mingling of the song with the clinging of glasses and bottles and laughter made for a cheerful night. Maybe she had been missing something after all, Hannah thought. Her face brightened and she eased closer to Justin. Justin found a booth in the middle of the bar when a group of 6 college students exiting, leaving their beer bottles neatly arranged on the tables in a circle. Before they could sit and get comfortable, 2 waitresses carrying trays and dressed in white blouse and black shorts quickly cleaned up the mess and scooped up their tips. The booth faced a large flat-screen television. There were several all over the bar. Some were tuned into a football game and others to basketball, and then one was on the Fox channel and CNN. The sound was off, but you could read what was being said. "Another young woman murdered." "What do you want, Hannah?" Justin asked as Hannah peered at the news. "I'll get our drinks at the bar. It's faster." Hannah looked at Gabriella, confused. "Get her a tequila shot." "Just one," Gabriella said to Justin. Hannah smiled because she had heard the name of that liquor before, and she knew a shot came in a small glass. That she could handle. As Justin strode away from the table, a young waitress walked up to them and took Brian, Chase, and Gabriella's order. "2 Heinekens and a shot of tequila with lime," Gabriella said. Then Gabriella's attention focused on the news. "Look at that. There's a killer of young women running crazy in Manhattan. You would think they would have caught him by now. How do you know it's a man? It could very well be a woman, Brian said, kissing Gabriella. Look how you're killing me. Gabriella pushed him away. Come on. Everyone knows it's a man. I read the statistics in a newspaper, and it said more men commit this kind of crime than women. Who drains a woman's body and then leaves it in the trash where everyone can see it? What woman is going to go off with another woman like that? A woman who's into women, Chase said. I'm glad you like men, and he whispered into Gabriella's ear. I heard that, Brian said. How do you do it? Hannah said, looking over at Gabriella. I've never even had one man, and you have two. I heard that, Justin said, sitting down with his 2 tequila shots. I said just one for. Justin placed one in front of Hannah and one for him. I know what you said. Stop trying to play mother to Hannah. She can take care of herself. This is how you do this shot. All at once, and then you suck on the lime. He demonstrated to Hannah, and she did as he directed. Her head felt light afterward, and she smiled. A wide, lazy, closed smile. See? Not bad for your first drink, Justin said. Gabriella glanced up to watch the news. Exactly what I said. The detectives have a profile of the killer. He's a man between 27 and 40, Gabriella said. The FBI had to adjust their profiles because they thought previously only white males committed serial killings. I bet they will have to make another adjustment when they discover that it may be a woman killing these women. Women don't do heinous murders like that. They just fuck you to death, Chase said. Gabriella gazed at him, shook her head, and raised her hand. I need another drink. Bring me one too, Hannah said. Are you sure? Gabriella said. Don't be a mother hen. It's like Justin said. I can take care of myself.